The vast, endless void of space rippled as the Tivan reconnaissance fleet emerged from warp. Commander Silvarek stood motionless on the bridge, his black eyes fixed on the deep blue orb in the distance. Earth. 200 years had passed since the First Contact War, a conflict the Tivan believed had crippled humanity beyond recovery. Their empire had burned countless civilizations to dust, and humans had been no different, or so they thought. The last recorded intelligence painted them as a fractured race, clinging to primitive colonies, incapable of true expansion. This mission was supposed to be routine, a mere formality before the final purge. But something was wrong. The fleet's sensors pulsed, relaying data in rapid bursts. The numbers didn't make sense. Earth wasn't just inhabited, it was thriving. Orbital stations the size of cities hung in perfect synchronization, their surfaces bristling with unidentifiable weaponry. A vast network of satellites blanketed the system, some emitting energy signatures beyond the fleet's comprehension. The Martian colonies, once struggling outposts, were now sprawling metropolises. Even the asteroid belt bore signs of massive industrial activity. Silvarek's claws tapped against the armrest of his command chair. How? He turned to his lieutenant, whose normally impassive features were strained with unease. The younger officer's voice wavered as he read the latest report. Commander, they've advanced. Far beyond projections. Silvarek leaned forward. The Tivan had always viewed themselves as the pinnacle of galactic evolution. No species had ever escaped the fate of submission or eradication. But this was an anomaly, a threat. A new transmission crackled to life, its tone clinical, devoid of fear. A human voice, female, measured and calm. Unidentified fleet, you have entered soul space. Identify yourselves or leave immediately. Silvarek exhaled slowly. This was not how it was supposed to go. Humans should have been groveling, begging for mercy. Yet there was no desperation in the transmission. No hesitation. His fleet numbered in the hundreds. Warships that had once laid waste to entire civilizations. And yet, for the first time in his long career, he felt something unfamiliar. Doubt. Silvarek straightened, suppressing the unease creeping into his mind. Protocol demanded dominance. The Tivan had ruled for millennia, and no species, especially not humans, could alter that. He signaled his communications officer, who transmitted the pre-recorded message designed to instill fear. This is Commander Silvarek of the Tivan Empire. You will lower your defenses and submit to immediate inspection. Resistance will not be tolerated. Silence followed. Then, without warning, the void stirred. Hundreds of ships materialized around the fleet, emerging from seemingly empty space. No energy distortions. No warp trails. Just, there. The vessels bore no resemblance to the crude human warships from 2 centuries ago. Sleek, angular, and obsidian black, they moved in eerie synchrony, their surfaces shifting as if alive. The fleet's scanners struggled to lock onto them. Every attempt was met with corrupted data, sensor feeds overridden with meaningless static. Then the human response came. You have 5 minutes to leave. Silvarek's secondary officer flinched at the sheer audacity of the statement. No posturing. No fear. A simple command. The human ships began repositioning, movements sharp and calculated. They weren't aligning into standard formations. No predictable attack vectors. Just constant, unreadable motion. It was the behavior of predators, not prey. Silvarek's claws dug into the armrest. He ordered a full fleet-wide analysis, demanding answers. But every system returned the same chilling conclusion: they had no clear estimate of human capabilities. Still, the Tivan were warriors. Their empire was built on conquest. Silvarek refused to retreat on threats alone. He issued the order. Weapons primed. Shields raised. The next move belonged to humanity. The answer came instantly. Every screen aboard the Tivan fleet flickered, then froze. A new message replaced their interface, written in perfect Tivan script. You should not have come. The fleet's primary weapons powered down. Shields collapsed. Navigation systems locked, rendering movement impossible. The ships were still operational, yet utterly defenseless. Silvarek's heart pounded. This wasn't just an ambush. It was a demonstration. A message delivered without a single shot fired. He finally understood. The humans hadn't just survived. They had surpassed them. Silvarek's mind raced, but every possible response ended the same way. Defeat. His fleet, once the terror of the galaxy, was now little more than a collection of helpless relics. The silence from his officers confirmed they knew it too. The screens flickered again. This time, they didn't display threats. They showed history. Tivan soldiers burning human cities. The glassing of entire colonies. The execution of prisoners. Events from the First Contact War, recorded from angles no human should have survived to document. Each moment preserved, undeniable, now replaying across every ship in the fleet. A new image followed. The same planets, 2 centuries later. Not ruined. Not struggling. Thriving. Towering megacities stretched across the landscapes. Space stations dwarfed anything the Tivan had ever constructed. Entire worlds transformed into fortresses. A civilization that had taken its pain and forged something greater. Silvarek's hands clenched. The Tivan had underestimated them, not just in strength, but in will. They had believed humans would remain stagnant, licking their wounds, waiting to be crushed in a second war. Instead, they had become something far worse. Predators. Movement in the void pulled his attention back. One human warship, larger than any dreadnought in the fleet, broke formation. It advanced slowly, deliberately, closing the distance without hesitation. Every alarm aboard the Tivan ships blared as their systems registered an anomaly. A pulse rippled outward from the approaching vessel, invisible yet devastating. Entire power grids flickered. Control interfaces shut down. Weapons that had once shattered worlds refused to respond. The human admiral's voice echoed through every speaker. "You should have stayed away." Silvarek barely heard the words. His focus was on his own fleet, on the silent horror reflected in the eyes of every officer around him. Not a single shot had been fired. And they had already lost. Silvarek forced himself to breathe. His fleet was crippled. His officers awaited orders he couldn't give. The truth was undeniable: humanity had surpassed the Tivan in every way. Any act of aggression now would be suicide. He swallowed his pride and gave the only command left. Full retreat. The Tivan ships lurched as their backup systems rebooted just enough for emergency maneuvers. One by one, they turned, breaking formation, their once mighty fleet reduced to a scattered exodus. No human vessel pursued. They didn't need to. The message had been delivered. As they crossed the system's edge, a final transmission reached them. No threat. No demand. Just a statement. "You once called us primitive. You thought we were weak. We remember." The words hung in the silence. No gloating. No cruelty. Just a reminder. A warning. Silvarek sat back, exhaling slowly. He had spent decades believing humans were a mistake, a footnote in galactic history. Now he saw the truth. The Tivan should have wiped them out when they had the chance. But deep down, he knew. That chance had never truly existed.